What's up guys, this is Danny Matrango with Mind Pump TV. Today I'm super excited to share with you some of my favorite tips and tricks that I picked up along the way in my years of training. Stuff that's really helped me and helped my clients see success and progression inside and outside the gym. So I want to talk to you guys today about how to properly perform a hip hinge. What a hip hinge even is, why you should do it properly, and how it lends itself to the training that you're doing in the gym already or the training that you want to be doing if you're doing it improperly now. So the hip hinge, or the bend mechanic, as it's often called, is one of the primary weightlifting mechanics. In addition to things like pushing, pulling, squatting, we need to be able to hinge. And the hinge occurs at the lumbopelvic hip complex, right? It's an aggregate of movement of the upper thigh and the pelvis, and how those muscles intrinsically move together, how that joint works to allow the body to literally bend downward and in half. If you've ever seen a kettlebell swing, a Romanian deadlift, a barbell deadlift, you'll know that the hip hinge is an integral part to performing those movements properly. But that being said, it seems to be a movement that a lot of people really struggle with performing right, or they struggle feeling the muscles they're supposed to feel. So what I want to do is show you my favorite drill for teaching the hip hinge and for learning how to recruit the muscles involved, like the hamstrings and the glutes, without incorporating things that we don't want, like the lower back. Let's get into it. My favorite drill to teach the hip hinge is a really simple drill, and all you really need is a dowel. You actually don't need the dowel at all, but I am going to show you first how to do it with the dowel. There's 3 points of contact that the dowel needs to have with the body. The first is right above the pelvic bone, right about in between your butt cheeks. Okay. The second one is the mid-back or the thoracic spine. And then the third point of contact is the back of the head. So what we want to do is we want to take the dowel into this position here, take the offhand into this position here. From here, what you'll see is I have 3 points of contact. I have my top point, my midpoint, and then my bottommost point. What this is doing is this is promoting me from using, or rather it's dissuading me from using spinal flexion, knee flexion, anything that can kind of be confused with a hip hinge, right? Because we can move our body into a position without necessarily using the right mechanic. So this is going to make sure that I don't use anything but the hip hinge. So once I've locked into position here, I just want to soften my knees a little bit and push my hips back, thinking about pushing your hips towards whatever wall you have behind you, driving back as much as you can, trying to keep, again, all 3 points of contact. And you're going to feel the hamstrings. Depending on how tight your hamstrings are, that's going to limit the range of motion of your hinge. But as long as when you go back, you start to feel the glutes and hamstrings get a stretch, that's how you know that you're hinging properly. Now, if you're somebody who's maybe newer to training, maybe you don't have great shoulder mobility, internal, external rotation to perform that, you can honestly just put your hands right here on your hips, okay? One hand on one side, one hand on the other. Make sure you give it a little squeeze. I like to squeeze right around where my hip flexors are. That actually helps me push back into this hip extension position. And from here, again, just unlock the knees, push back, come forward. Working on feeling the hamstrings, working on feeling the glutes, all the stuff we need to properly hinge the hips. Eventually, I'd like you guys to be able to do it with the dowel. So we've actually linked a couple videos we have on shoulder mobility that will help you get here, because that's a deficiency you're going to want to address anyway. Once you've mastered the hinge pattern without weight or without load, that's when you know it's time to start incorporating exercises that involve load, right? So the big ones that I think of and that most people probably associate with a hinge are the barbell deadlift, the barbell Romanian deadlift, and the kettlebell swing. Any one of those 3 is a great place to start and kind of put your loaded hinge to the test. I wouldn't start with too much weight. I would really just want you to emphasize doing the exercise properly and correctly without using a ton of weight, so that you can really incorporate the hinge and not some of that secondary musculature that often will interfere with that. If you found this video helpful, do us a favor, like, comment, and subscribe. We're always looking through the comments for direction to go with future content, as well as answering questions that this video might have brought up for you, or technique things, anything like that. Thanks so much for tuning in, guys. Have a great day.